So the media,
Thank you.
almost universally, left-wing media, but I repeat myself, has turned on him. But the top Democrat politicians, Obama, Hillary, Hakeem Jeffries in the House, James Clyburn, publicly have not, though there are reports now that behind closed doors, Pelosi, Jeffries, and Clyburn have all expressed serious doubts about his ability to continue. So where does that leave us today on Monday?
Well, first, I want to tell you the story how I kind of saw the debate. And I think it's really important because those of us that are in free-thinking media, we weren't that necessarily surprised by what we saw. So I watched the debate kind of alone, quarantined, without anybody around. I want to get my own opinions and my own perspectives shaped. So I'm watching the debate, and Biden glitches, and he kind of overloads, and he talks about beating Medicare and all that. I said, oh, that's just another day at the White House. I for me, the way that I was expecting a glitch that would be really bad would be like Joe Biden capsizing or, him, completely stumbling over his words for 10 or 15 seconds straight. So I said, okay, that's bad. But, obviously the American people are used to that. What was shocking, Megyn, is that no, they aren't used to that, is because the mainstream media for the last couple of years have been involved in an active cover-up operation of Joe Biden's failing mental state. And there was no ability to cover it up right there. It was 50 million people plus the tens of millions of others that saw clips of it and the tens of millions of others that saw the debate coverage. And the media realized we can no longer do what we've been doing. We can no longer cover up for this. We can no longer lie. We can no longer smear. And you saw in real time that there was a green light lit. As soon as that CNN debate ended, John King, he was the one that crossed the Rubicon. He was the one that launched that original salvo. John King says, I'm talking to lots of senior Democrats, and they believe that it's time to remove him. And then all of a sudden, Chris Wallace piled on. And it was as if as soon as that began—
Van Jones, David Axelrod.
Yes, it was fashionable all of a sudden to go after Joe Biden. And again, this on a scale of like 1 to 10 of Joe Biden's typical press conference, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as what we saw when he's reading the teleprompter that says, stop talking, or where he's just kind of meandering and he can't find the stairs. But it just goes to show how millions of people in this country have still not been exposed to what you and I see on a daily basis. And it's remarkable how much power the propagandists still have. Donald Trump, baited Joe Biden into this. And Joe Biden thought that he was going to be able to tighten the race and show that it's a choice between the stable Joe Biden and the out-of-control Donald Trump. The exact opposite has happened. And the Democrats are stuck. On the surface, we're seeing people like Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and major donors like Reid Hoffman still have support for Joe Biden. But do you know what I find so interesting, Megyn? Is that for the first time since Joe Biden has become president, we are actually getting leaks out of the White House. For the first time that Joe Biden has become president, we're getting reporting. I'm looking at Politico.com and they say private conversations detail that they want to fire aides and they want to. I said, wait a second, where has this been during the border crisis or inflation or Ukraine? When Donald Trump was president, I knew how the deputy intern for communications liked her coffee. When Donald Trump was president—
No, but here's the question, Charlie. Have we always been getting leaks, but only now they're reporting it because the media is finally in a panic?
Well, that's exactly right. Yes. And so they've just now decided to do reporting. And the specificity that New York Times, Bloomberg, and Politico had about a walled-off Camp David meeting— and it's amazing. The Biden family, it's very mafioso over there. They say, we're going to fire some of our top aides because the debate was not good. I said, wait a second. So you're going to fire some top aides over a bad debate performance, but not over the fact that we have 7 million people that have come to this country illegally. You're running, a meat grinder in eastern Ukraine, or we have hyperinflation. No, but what's going to get the aides on the chopping block is the fact that Joe Biden, they didn't get his chemistry right that night. But I think you're exactly right that the media has been receiving leaks for some time, but now they're in an active measure of doing reporting. And amazing.
Because they want to get rid of him.
Telling.
Now they realize we can no longer hide it. The public's seen it, and therefore he needs to be turfed. We got to get rid of this guy ASAP, even though we were complicit. By the way, here's my favorite. You obviously have been reporting about Joe Biden's snafus, glitches, whatever you want to call them. So have we. This is my favorite of the entire election season. By favorite, I mean the one that was most telling. Like, look at this guy. Here it is.
Imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause.
4 more years.
Pause. Charlie, he said to pause. 4 more years.
Oh, yeah.
Pause. I mean, there's a million of them.
There's hundreds that I could just think of where he just goes, but no one covers it. So it doesn't get into the main zeitgeist and it doesn't get into the main narrative. The debate was different though. To CNN's credit, they opened up the debate to every network, which I didn't think they were going to do. And CNN in some ways was far more fair and like unusually neutral. And I'm still not sure how to deal with that. It's kind of bothered me the last couple of days. And the other part was this: as soon as I watched the debate, as it was over, I texted, we did a live stream, and I texted our friends, my buddies, I said, CNN lost Joe Biden the debate because they went split screen. They didn't go full screen when the presenter was.
It
when
was
they
remarkable.
went split screen, when Donald Trump was talking, I mean, again, I love Trump. And so they ask him about childcare. He starts talking about the border. They ask him about the environment. He talks about the border. So Donald Trump's talking about the border half the debate, which is good for him. And you're not even listening to Trump. You're watching Joe Biden,
right?
With his mouth open, stare into the abyss. And you're distracted because Joe Biden became the center of gravity. And Donald Trump really didn't get as much attention. And CNN did that with the split screen. Secondly,
and by the way, Charlie, everybody noticed that because my audience knows that I listen to a lot of my news. I listen to it as opposed to read it. I like to have it read to me. And I use this app called VoiceStream, which is amazing. It reads your news articles to you. Anyway, everybody noticed it. Everyone noticed how Joe Biden was looking, all of the left-wing press. And the funny thing that I experienced over the weekend was the word agape, which is how his mouth was the whole debate, is read by my little voice stream lady as agape. And she said it so many times, agape. I was like, what is this? Some native tribe that loves pineapples? What is agape? It was obvious. I heard it so many times. The mainstream media was pointing out, that's just something remarkable. How old and infirm are you if the jaw is now hanging open while you're just in listening mode?
Well, so a couple things on that. And yeah, that's the Greek word for sacrificial love, but has no application to that. But the ear is fairer than the eye. And by the way, that's why I love podcasting. I've believed this for a very long time, that the listening of the orally transmitted word is a lot fairer to get to truth. And the eye deceives us. And I think that as America's become, and this is a totally separate issue, but more towards podcasting and alternative media, we've gotten closer to the truth than just video consumption or cable television broadcasting, which obviously you and I, did for quite some time. So when you listen to the debate, you're more likely to listen to what arguments are they making, what are they saying. And interestingly, it's very similar, by the way, to the Nixon JFK debate in the 1960s. When people listened to this debate, they did not have as dramatic of opinions as people who actually saw what Joe Biden looked like and saw that he was completely incapable. Oh yeah, no, they saw the entire thing. And I'll say one other thing on this, which I think is really important. Is
look at the picture.
And that was one of his better pictures of the night, by the way. And so there's a disagreement amongst the media of exactly how to handle this. And each institution, you could tell, has kind of their own way of approaching this. The New York Times just went completely all out. The next morning, Thomas Friedman,
to get rid of him.
New York. It was just one after the other. Chicago Tribune, we've got to get rid of Joe Biden. The Atlantic. And then there was the Washington Post is not quite there yet. They said, Joe Biden has to spend some personal time with his family. And now all eyes on who is really running the country. Very similar, by the way, to when Woodrow Wilson, a very bad president, was declining towards the end of his presidency, and Edith Wilson basically took control of the American presidency, which was his wife, is Jill Biden. Jill Biden is effectively running the country right now. No one voted for Jill Biden. No one really knows who she is, and she's not even a real doctor.
No, she's not a real doctor. Even today, she's on the cover of Vogue now. She got the Vogue treatment, something they never did for Melania Trump, a literal supermodel. But Jill Biden's on the front of it now, and you can see it says, "We will decide our future," though she was talking about women's rights. In any event, as she parades herself out there as, I guess, some sort of a fashion model, okay, we are reminded of just last month. It was June 6th. Today's July 1st. A couple weeks ago, when she tweeted out a picture of herself sitting there with Joe Biden's jacket over her chair, preparing for the G7. Why is she going to there's 2021. Okay, so it's 2021, even worse. How long has she been in charge? And the problem is that all of the Democrats' hopes come down to what this woman wants. All of them come down to what, can you imagine if they did this with Melania Trump, preparing for the G7, sitting in the president's chair, getting ready for the G7? And so they had a meeting at Camp David yesterday on Sunday with intimate family and advisors. The NBC News had reported out that they were going to do this. It was a pre-scheduled meeting, but that the focus had been updated to include President Biden's future. Then the White House tried to deny it. Then the White House got mad at NBC for not reporting that this has been pre-planned. Then NBC sniped back. It's in paragraph 2. Suck it. Okay, that was my addition. And they had this meeting, and who decided what he's going to do? Reportedly, Jill Biden and Hunter Biden.
Yep.
The biggest grifter in the administration. And honestly, Jill Biden turns out to be a bit of a grifter too. She's power hungry. She's like a Hillary Clinton. She's not a Laura Bush. She's not a Melania Trump. She's not somebody who's just there to support her husband. She seems to me like somebody who is out for her own power and can't let go.
Yes. And it's staring at us in the face. What if they pull Joe Biden with Jill Biden? And I'm not kidding. First female president. Joe can still be around. His health is not the same way. But I mean, it's staring at us right in the face. It's not Michelle Obama or Gretchen Whitmer.
What did you say?
It's Biden. Think about it, though. I mean, she's on the front cover of Vogue. They don't have to change the ballots. It's still voting for Biden. Would can still be around as a senior advisor. He's not who he used to be. First female president in a year makes Roe more front and center. Why would they go outside of the family
territory? Remember Primary Colors? And the guy who played J.R. Ewing, what was his name? Larry, you remember, Hagman. He was playing the role of like the more reasonable candidate, and he was running, and then he had to withdraw because of scandal. Anyway, and then he died, and his wife ran.
It keeps Joe Biden around for all of his relationships, but then, Jill Biden can't be accused of all the same things, mental decline. She can even say, hey, I was kind of running this place. And I
have never heard anybody say this. This is the first person I've heard say it's possibly Jill, and it's not insane.
I think it's the most probable. She's not in the betting markets. No one's thinking it. She's now more front and center, front page of Vogue, and it's the same last name. So you don't have this huge switch.
Right?
Think about it.
Okay. I love it as a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, but I love it as a possibility. And if it does happen, you're coming back on to take a victory lap. Let me tell you a story about a guy named Leo Grillo. Leo was on a road trip and came across a Doberman. This dog was severely underweight and clearly in trouble. Well, Leo rescued the dog and named him Delta. But sadly, Delta was just one of many animals that needed help. And this inspired Leo to start Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. They've rescued thousands of dogs, cats, and horses from the wilderness, and they provide their animals with shelter, love, safety, a home. April marked 45 years since Leo rescued Delta, and Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions. If you want caring for these animals to be part of your legacy, speak with your estate planner, because there are tax benefits too. You can grow your estate while letting your love for animals live well into the future. Check out the estate planning tab on their website to learn more and to speak with your advisor too. We call dogs a man's best friend for a reason. You can help those who need it most. Visit deltarescue.org today to learn more. deltarescue.org. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.